In my past life, during the college entrance exam, the class beauty Su Yao smiled and told me all the surveillance cameras were broken. I believed her. Then she slipped a spare phone into my school uniform pocket, and the cameras caught it all clearly. I took the blame for cheating. Was publicly named and shamed by the school. My college dreams shattered. And in the end, I stood by the river and plunged headfirst into it. Before I died, there was one thing I figured out. The surveillance footage that day was perfectly clear. Reborn back to the night before the college entrance exam. My mom asked me what I wanted to wear tomorrow. I searched through the entire wardrobe and picked a dress with no pockets. Pure white. Form-fitting cut, didn't even mention a phone. Even one extra tissue would show its shape. Su Yao, where are you going to stuff it in this life? Chapter 1. I was woken up by a basin of cold water. It wasn't really cold water. It was my mom's loud voice. Jiang Tang, if you don't get up now, you might as well sleep in the exam room for tomorrow's college entrance exam. I shot up from the bed, my heart pounding, breathing rapid, and a metallic taste filling my throat. That taste was all too familiar to me, the last time I was pulled out of the river in my past life. This was the taste in my mouth, soaked to the bone, my lungs filled with filthy water. The last thing I saw before losing consciousness was Su Yao's face in the crowd on the shore, terrified yet tinged with a hint of relief. I clenched the corner of the blanket, my nails digging into my palms. The phone screen lit up. June 6, 2024, 10:03 p.m., the day before the college entrance exam. I survived. Mom. My voice was hoarse beyond recognition. What is it? I'll wear that white dress tomorrow. Which one? The one your cousin gave you for her wedding. The one without pockets. Where will you put your admission ticket? I'll hold it in my hand. And the pen. Hold it in your hand too. What about tissues? What if you get nervous during the exam and have a runny nose? Mom. All right. You decide for yourself. Don't blame me for not reminding you. She slammed the door shut. I sat on the bed, slowly pulling the blanket up to my knees, staring at my own hands. 17-year-old hands. Fair and smooth, without that scar on the knuckles. In my past life. After I crawled out of the river, I spent half a month in the ICU. A shard of glass at the bottom of the river cut a gash in my hand, requiring 8 stitches and leaving a scar that looked like a centipede. I clenched my fist. In this life, no one will drive me to that river. Before I went to sleep, I did 3 things. First, fold the school uniform neatly and put it at the very back of the clothes tin. My past life. Su Yao took advantage of my inattention and slipped a spare phone into the left pocket of my school uniform jacket after PE class. Second, hang the white dress I plan to wear tomorrow on the doorknob. I checked it thoroughly. No pockets, no hidden pouches, a fitted waist, and a lean skirt. And fabric so thin it's see-through. Forget hiding a phone. Even if I eat 2 extra bites and my stomach sticks out, it's obvious at a glance. Third, I took out a completely transparent file bag and put my admission ticket, ID card, 2 pens, and an eraser all inside. Transparent. No one could slip anything inside without being noticed. After doing all this, I lay back down on the bed. A fluorescent star was stuck to the ceiling. Just like in my past life. I stared at it all night and couldn't fall asleep. I didn't sleep much in this life either. But my mindset was completely different. In my past life, my mind was full of will I do well on the exam tomorrow. All my life, all I've had on my mind is Su Yao. Your face tomorrow is going to be quite something. Chapter 2. June 7th. When my mom called me downstairs for breakfast, I had already changed into my dress. A white dress with a square neckline, slightly revealing my collarbone. With the hem just above my knees, I spun around in front of the mirror. Fitted, clean, and fresh. A mosquito landing on a skirt can be seen, let alone a phone. Perfect. Jiang Tang, you're dressing so beautifully for an exam. Do you think you're walking a red carpet? My mom stood at the bottom of the stairs with a glass of soy milk, looking me up and down. Comfortable. You're comfortable wearing flip-flops too. So why don't you wear them? Mom. Stop nagging. Give me the soy milk. I grabbed the transparent file bag and went downstairs. Stepping out the door in my white sneakers. On an early June morning. The sunlight was already glaring. The exam venue is at the neighboring middle school. A 15-minute walk away. I had just reached the alley entrance when my phone vibrated. A message from Su Yao on WeChat. Tang Tang, are you up? I'm waiting for you at the school gate. Let's go together. Heart. In her past life, she had sent the exact same message. The exact same heart emoji. I was even a little touched at the time. Thinking that the class beauty had taken the initiative to ask me to walk together, maybe it meant we were getting closer. Ha. I replied with one word. Okay. When I reached the school gate, Su Yao was already standing there. Ponytail. School uniform. A smile so sweet it could stretch like syrup. But I noticed her right hand was always tucked into her school uniform pocket, slightly bulging with a square outline. In my past life, that curve appeared in my pocket midway through the exam. Tang Tang. She ran over and linked her arm through mine. Then paused. Her gaze slid from my collar to the hem of my skirt. Why aren't you wearing your school uniform today? Here it comes. The first micro-expression surprise. I smiled. It's too hot. So I'm wearing a skirt to stay cool. But, she glanced at my skirt again. Her gaze clearly sweeping over the waist and hips. This skirt doesn't seem to have pockets. Does it? Where are you putting your things? File bag. I lifted the transparent bag in my hand. Everything's in there. Su Yao's smile froze for half a second. Just half a second. But I saw it clearly. She quickly recovered and patted my arm with a smile. Ah. You're so clever, why didn't I think of that? Of course you didn't. Your mind was too busy figuring out how to slip your phone into my pocket and shift the blame elsewhere to spare a thought for my outfit. We walked side by side toward the exam hall, chatting idly. But her right hand stayed in her pocket the whole time. I glanced sideways. The square outline bulging in her school uniform pocket was even more noticeable than before. It was a phone case. The backup phone she had stuffed into my pocket in my past life, an old-fashioned feature phone. No fingerprint lock. No password. The startup screen showing a default wallpaper. Nothing like a phone anyone would use daily. It was just a prop. A carefully prepared frame-up prop. I withdrew my gaze. My mind eerily calm. As I reached the school gate of the exam venue. The crowd began to grow. A few girls from my class lit up when they saw me. Jiang Tang. You look so beautiful in that dress today. White. Like a fairy descending to earth. My mom insists I wear the school uniform. Saying it's less likely to get dirty. Look at her. I smiled and greeted them. Su Yao stood beside me. A smile lingering at the corners of her mouth. But I noticed she had pulled her hand out of her pocket. Her hand was empty. Where was the phone? I glanced over. Her school uniform pocket was still slightly bulging. I didn't take it out. In other words, she hasn't given up yet. She's just waiting for a better opportunity. You have to go through security before entering the exam hall. The metal detector scanned me from head to toe. And I came out clean. Not even a hairpin on me. The security officer nodded at me. Go on in. As I walked past, I heard a beep sound from behind me. Turning around, I saw Su Yao stopped by the metal detector. The security officer frowned. What's in your pocket? Take it out and let me see. A flicker of panic crossed Su Yao's face. But she quickly smiled and pulled out a set of keys. Officer. It's just my keys. The jingling keys glinted in the sunlight. The security officer glanced at them and waved her through. I kept my eyes fixed on her pocket. The key was pulled out. But that square shape in the pocket. It was still there. The teacher didn't notice. A slight curve formed at the corner of my mouth. Alright, Su Yao. Your plan A has been blocked by my dress. Let's see how you play this next. Chapter 3. There were 28 seats in the exam room. I was in the third row by the window. And Su Yao was 2 rows behind me. Against the wall. It was the same seat as in my past life. I clearly remember about 40 minutes into the exam in my past life. I got up to go to the restroom. When I came back, my phone was already in the left pocket of my school uniform. and Su Yao was sitting right next to the aisle leading to the restroom. All she had to do was reach out her hand as I passed by and gently slide the phone into my pocket. The school uniform pockets were wide and loose, so I wouldn't feel a thing. When the exam ended, the proctor would collect the papers and conduct a routine check. A phone fell out of my pocket and rolled onto the floor. Everyone in the exam room was staring at me. I was completely stunned at that moment, repeatedly saying, "It's not mine." But no one believed me, because the surveillance camera caught it. The surveillance footage showed that phone was in my pocket for at least 30 minutes. No one checked the origin of that phone. No one investigated Su Yao, because she was the class beauty, ranked in the top 5 academically, and liked by both teachers and classmates. And me, top grades, but quiet, unsociable, with few friends. Everyone thinks those who excel academically have the most motive and pressure to cheat. How ironic. The bell rang. The exam began. I lowered my head, looked at the Chinese exam paper in front of me, and took a deep breath. I had already done these questions twice. In my past life, I already went through it once. In this life, I don't care anymore, I'll just secure the points first. I wrote quickly, finishing all the multiple choice questions and reading comprehension in under 40 minutes. Then started on the essay. In my past life, I wrote an 800-word argumentative essay, playing it safe and conventional. In this life, I took a different approach. The essay topic was the road. I wrote a story about a girl who was wrongfully accused. There were no real names, but every word was drawn from my own past life experience. By the time I reached the final paragraph, my hand was trembling slightly. Not nervous. It's hatred. Take a deep breath. Put down the pen. Look up. The classroom was filled with the rustling sound of writing, and the fluorescent lights hummed softly. I glanced back. Su Yao was writing her exam paper with her head down, her expression calm, but her left hand kept pressing down on the school uniform pocket. That phone. She still hadn't found a chance to get rid of it, because I never actually got up to go to the bathroom. Wait a little longer. I'm not in a hurry. She is in a hurry. Sure enough, after about 5 minutes, Su Yao raised her hand. "Teacher, I need to go to the restroom." The invigilator nodded, signaling for her to go. Su Yao stood up, and as she passed by me, her steps noticeably slowed. I felt her gaze fall on me, like a searchlight, sweeping from my shoulder to my waist. But there was nothing she could do, because I was wearing a skirt. No pockets. The skirt was tight against my thighs. She couldn't possibly slap the phone onto my bare arm in full view of the entire exam hall, could she? Su Yao walked past me. Her pace was much faster than when she arrived. 3 minutes later, she came back. As she passed by me, she slowed down again. Then, I felt an extremely light touch. Her fingers brushed against the transparent file folder draped over the back of my chair. In an instant, every nerve in my body tensed up. I did not turn around. There was no reaction at all. Only after she returned to her seat did she slowly lower her head and glance at the document bag. It was transparent. Inside, there were only the admission ticket, ID card, and 2 pens. Nothing extra came out. She didn't have time to stuff it in. Or rather, she tried. But the transparent bag made it impossible for her to even start. You're putting your phone into a transparent bag. Doesn't that mean performing magic in public? Whose phone went in? The entire exam hall could see it. I couldn't suppress the corner of my mouth, and it curled up slightly. I quickly lowered my head and continued writing the essay, pretending nothing had happened. But from the corner of my eye, I noticed that Su Yao hadn't picked up her pen since returning to her seat. She sat there, staring at my back for a full 2 minutes. Her plan B was also dead. Do you have a plan C, Su Yao? I bet you do. You schemed so meticulously in your past life that there's no way you only prepared one plan. Come on. I'm wearing a dress with no pockets today and carrying a transparent stationery bag cleaner than a security scanner from head to toe. Even if you invited David Copperfield, D himself, he couldn't conjure a phone onto me. Chapter 4. The first half of the exam is over. As soon as the bell rang, The exam hall erupted. Everyone stood up, stretched, and murmured while comparing answers. Suya walked quickly to my side, her smile still sweet. Tang Tang. How did you do on the Chinese exam? Not bad. I held the transparent file bag in my hand and stood up. Let's go. Get some fresh air. Hey, wait. Su Yao grabbed my arm. What did you write for your essay? I wrote a story. What story is it? A story about a girl who was wronged. Su Yao's fingers tightened slightly on my arm. Then she let go. So creative. The smile didn't change. But I noticed her eyelid twitch. Walking out of the exam hall. The sunlight was dazzling. I took a deep breath. The June breeze was warm, mingling with the scent of grass on the sports field. At this time in my past life, I was already panicking. My phone was discovered, and the invigilator called me aside. I cried and explained for half an hour, but no one believed me. Su Yao stood behind the crowd, watching me with an expression of worry and heartache. Fake. All of it is fking fake. Jiang Tang. A crisp voice exploded from behind me. I turned around and saw Zhou Xiaoyu trotting over, her hair tied in 2 buns. Her expression looking as if she had been caught off guard by an exam paper. What did you choose for the 3rd reading comprehension question? I picked B. But the more I thought about it, the more I felt it should be C. So I filled in C. Then thought B was right again. And in the end, I filled in all of them. You filled in all of them? Yeah. What if I get it right? Zhou Xiaoyu. This is the college entrance exam. Not buying a lottery ticket. I'm not getting into Tsinghua anyway. So what's wrong with taking a gamble? She casually threw an arm around my shoulder, then looked down at my dress. Holy crap. Jiang Tang. You look way too good today. What dress is this? Send me the link. No link. My cousin gave it to me. Is your cousin running a fairy factory? Su Yao had somehow walked over to the other side and chimed in with a smile. It looks nice. But it's inconvenient without pockets. She said this very casually, but I could sense a hint of probing in her tone. She was confirming whether I had worn this dress by chance or on purpose. Very convenient. I shook the transparent document bag. Everything's in here. Clear at a glance. Even saves the trouble of security checks. Su Yao smiled but didn't respond. Zhou Xiaoyu suddenly leaned close to my ear and lowered her voice. Hey, Jiang Tang. Look over the wreath, that guy's secretly staring at you. I followed her gaze. Under the plane tree by the exam hall entrance, a guy in a white t-shirt was looking our way. The moment I saw him clearly, I froze completely. Lu Zhixing. From the class next door. Ranked 2nd in the grade. In my past life. After my accident. He was the only one who spoke up for me. He sent a message in the class group chat. Jiang Tang is not that kind of person. Then he was heavily criticized by everyone in the group. In the end, he fell silent. On the day I jumped into the river, it was said that he stood on the bank all night. But by then, I was already unaware of anything. At this moment, he stood under the plane tree looking at me, as if he wanted to say something but held back. I smiled at him, very lightly, very briefly, but I saw his ears suddenly turn red. And then he quickly turned his head, pretending to look at the sky. Zhou Xiaoyu's eyes widened like brass bells. Holy crap. His ears are red. Jiang Tang, tell me the truth. You too. Shut up. No way. I want the gossip. Su Yao's gaze swept over Lu Zhixing without lingering, but I noticed that she had put her right hand back into her school uniform pocket. That square-shaped bulge was still there. It meant she hadn't given up yet. Perhaps she was already formulating a new plan. There's math in the afternoon. I mentally calculated the timeline from my previous life. After the Chinese exam, it was safe. The math exam was when she would truly make her move. In her past life, she succeeded in framing someone during the math exam. The reason was simple: math was hard. Most people were panicked, their attention entirely on the test papers. The invigilator was watching the clock, and the alertness in the exam hall was at its lowest. What about this life? How do you plan to do it? I stuffed a mouthful of rice into my mouth, the lunchbox my mom had prepared. Braised pork ribs and broccoli. Then leaned against the wall in the hallway and began to reverse engineer Su Yao's options. Plan A. Stuff it in my pocket. Dead. I don't have pockets. Plan B. Stuff it in my document folder. Dead. The folder is transparent. Plan C. What could it be? Stuff it in my desk drawer. No way. The desks in the exam room are iron flip-top desks, and they will be checked by the invigilator before the exam. Besides, I'm sitting in the 3rd row by the window, and for her to come over from the 5th row, she'd have to pass too many peeplights too conspicuous. Stick it in my shoe. Even worse. I'm wearing white sneakers. And anything in my shoes would be noticeable the moment I step on it. Then what else can she do? Report it directly. My chewing on the ribs came to a halt. Right. If she can't fabricate evidence on me, she can simply change her approach. Instead of planting physical evidence, she can plant a report. For example, during the exam, she could raise her hand and report to the proctor that she saw me looking at my phone. Then the proctor would come over to check. Although no phone was found on me, this report record itself is a stain. What's even more disgusting is that if she finds an accomplice outside the exam hall and claims after the exam that she saw Jiang Tang passing notes at the exam hall entrance, she could ruin my reputation through the power of collective slander. A chill shot up from the base of my spine. Did she have an accomplice in my past life? Yes. Lin Yu, Su Yao's sidekick, the one who played along with her act the whole time. In the previous life, when Lin Yu identified her in the surveillance footage, she swore. I saw with my own eyes Jiang Tang looking at her phone before the exam. Post-investigation. There was no post-investigation. Everyone thought the evidence was conclusive and there was no need to investigate. I closed the lunchbox and suddenly lost my appetite. Wearing a dress without pockets is not enough. I need a means of counterattack. A way to reveal the truth the moment she frames me. I stared at the end of the corridor, where the sunlight had bleached the floor white. Suddenly, my phone vibrated again. Su Yao's WeChat message. Tang Tang. Are you nervous about the math exam this afternoon? How about I go with you to the classroom to study for a bit at noon? Cute. I stared at that cute emoji and curled the corner of my mouth. You're so thoughtful. Su Yao. Inviting me to study in the classroom. In my past life, I believed her. And then during the lunch break, she rummaged through my backpack, confirmed I had brought my school uniform, and only then made her plan for the afternoon. And in this life, I replied, sure. You pick the classroom. I'll be right there. I want to see what you're really up to. Chapter 5. In the classroom, only Su Yao and I remained. The other classmates were either in the cafeteria or at home for their lunch break, leaving the entire teaching building so quiet that the chirping of cicadas could be heard. Su Yao sat across from me, a math notebook spread open on the desk, flipping through it with a convincing air. I also opened a book, pretending to review. In reality, I couldn't take in a single word. All my attention was on her. Tang Tang. Do you think there will be a solid geometry problem in this year's math exam? Probably yes. Oh my god. I'm the worst at solid geometry. She slumped over the desk, showing a troubled expression. Can you teach me how to draw that cross-section? Sure. I stood up, walked over to her, picked up a pen, and started drawing on her notebook. She tilted her head to watch me draw. And then, her hand accidentally brushed against my transparent document folder. It was lying on my desk, with its opening facing upward. Her fingertip traced the edge of the folder's opening. As if testing it, I didn't look at her. Continued drawing. Look. The cross-section starts from the midpoint of this edge. Oh, I get it. She quickly withdrew her hand and picked up her own pen to start copying. No, you don't understand. What you do understand is how to sneak things into the bag when I'm not looking. But Su Yao, this bag is transparent. Even if you manage to slip something in, I'll see it the moment I look down. You think I wouldn't check? She didn't make another move. The next 15 minutes were entirely about studying. She asked me 3 probability questions, with a sincere attitude and a close tone, almost like a perfect best friend. Just before one, 30. She stood up and said she was going to the restroom. She left. I sat in my seat, waited 30 seconds, then flipped through the things on her desk. Beneath the math notebook, a note was tucked. I pulled it out and took a look. There was only one line of text. In Lin Yu's handwriting I recognized it, because in my past life I had read countless investigation materials related to her. All of them fake. But her handwriting had always stayed in my mind. The note read, "Before the first session this afternoon." I stuffed the item into her desk drawer. "You handle the report." My fingers turned slightly cold. Indeed, Plan C was not about making a move in the middle of the exam at all. Instead, it was about completing the setup before the exam even began. Lin Yu was responsible for entering the exam room early. She was arranged 2 rows diagonally behind me and, when no one was looking, slipping the phone into my desk drawer. Then Su Yao raised her hand in the middle of the exam to report, saying, "I think I saw Jiang Tang take something out." The invigilator came over to check and opened the desk drawer. A phone. Even if I said it wasn't mine. Even if I had nothing on me. That phone in my desk drawer was irrefutable evidence. In the past life it was a pocket. In this life it was replaced by a desk drawer. Her methods have been upgraded. No, not upgraded. It was me wearing a skirt without pockets that forced her to change her plan at the last minute. But the essence remained the same, framing someone and then playing innocent. I put the note back exactly as it was and pressed it down. My heart was racing, but my mind was clear. She didn't notice that I had seen it. Okay, I need to do 2 things. The first, after entering the exam room in the afternoon, in front of the invigilator, I will proactively check my desk drawer to make sure it's empty and ask the teacher to witness it. The second thing, I needed to make sure Lin Yu's act of stuffing the phone was seen by someone. How to make it seen? I pulled out my phone and scrolled to Lu Zhixing's WeChat. In my past life, we had barely spoken, only connected as friends added for a grade-level event, without a single chat record. But this life is different. I typed a line. "Lu Zhixing, we have a math exam this afternoon. Can you do me a favor?" Sent. Waited about 10 seconds. The response speed is abnormally fast. "What kind of favor? What's your exam room number this afternoon?" "Room 3. What about you?" "I'm also number 3. He was silent for a moment, then replied, "I know. This I know caught me off guard. He knows I'm in exam room 3. Did he check?" "Forget it. No time to think about this now." I quickly typed, "Before the afternoon exam starts, there's a girl named Lin Yu 2 rows in front of me. Help me keep an eye on whether she touches my desk after entering the exam room." Lu Zhixing took 5 seconds before replying, "Is someone trying to harm you?" Such sharp intuition. I thought for a moment and replied, "If she touches my desk, help me call the invigilator. Just say you saw it." "Okay." Didn't ask why. Didn't ask for a reason. Just a single okay. Concise and to the point. No unnecessary words. "You must have spoken up for me the same way in our past life. One person standing against 100. And then being drowned out into silence. That won't happen in this life. I'll handle this life myself." When Su Yao came back from the restroom, I had already put away my phone and was staring blankly at my math notes. She glanced at me, her smile as usual. "Tang Tang. Good luck this afternoon." "Yeah, let's work hard together." I smiled too. Smiled even sweeter than she did. Chapter 6. 1:50 p.m. The examination hall doors opened. I was the 3rd person to walk in. After entering, the first thing I did was not sit down. Instead, he walked over to my seat, lifted the lid of the desk compartment, and bent down to examine it carefully. Empty. Nothing at all. Then I turned to look at the proctor, a middle-aged male teacher wearing glasses. "Teacher, could you please confirm that my desk is empty?" The proctor was taken aback. "Huh? I mean, I just want to make sure there's nothing in the desk before the exam. Could you take a look for me?" The teacher adjusted their glasses, walked over, and glanced into the desk. "Yes, it's empty. No problem. Thank you." "Teacher." A few classmates nearby cast strange glances. Who would voluntarily ask the teacher to check their desk drawer? I don't care. I just need this proctor to remember before the exam started. My desk drawer was empty. If a phone suddenly appears in the middle of the exam, it definitely wasn't placed there by me. After sitting down, I pretended to organize my stationery, scanning the exam room with my peripheral vision. Lu Zhixing was sitting in the second row by the door, and when he turned sideways, he could just see me and the area behind me. He gave me a subtle nod. Ready. I continued scanning. Lin Yu hasn't arrived yet. Students filed into the exam hall one after another, the noise inside growing louder. 1:55. Lin Yu walked in. Ponytail. Round face. A slightly nervous expression. In my past life, she always wore that same tense look. But I had always assumed it was just pre-exam anxiety. Now I understand. What she was nervous about wasn't the exam. It was the crime. Lin Yu's seat was 2 rows diagonally behind me, and the route she took to come over had to pass by my seat. She slowed her pace as she passed by, but she didn't stop, because I was looking up at her, staring straight at her, expressionless. The moment her eyes met mine, she visibly flinched, then quickly lowered her head and walked past. Too nervous. A guilty conscience. But she didn't make a move, because I was staring at her. Okay, so when will she make her move? 2 possibilities. 1. She'll turn back when I'm looking down at my test and not paying attention. 2. She'll slip it in as she passes my seat on her way to the restroom. Either way, she would have to pass by my seat. And Lu Zhixing was sitting in a spot where he could see this aisle. The exam bell rang. The test papers were handed out. I glanced at if this year's math exam wasn't difficult. In my past life, I had taken this exact test. After finishing, I checked the answers and got 143 points. With normal performance, I could have reached 145. But in my past life, I never finished the exam. After my phone was discovered, I was escorted out of the exam room. I got a 0 on my math exam. My mom waited for me outside the exam hall all afternoon, only to receive a notice that my scores were invalidated. She cried all night. I didn't cry, because I can't cry anymore. Stop. Take a deep breath. Lower your head and work on the problems. Quick progress. 12 multiple choice questions. Finished in 35 minutes. 4 fill-in-the-blank questions. 15 minutes. Start with the first big question and work through it smoothly. But I always kept a sliver of my attention on what was behind me. Sure enough, at the 28th minute after the exam began, I heard a faint rustling sound from behind me, the sound of a chair being pushed. Someone stood up. Teacher, I need to go to the restroom. Lin Yu's voice. I didn't look up. Continue writing the questions. The tip of the pen rustled against the paper. Footsteps approached from behind. As she passed by my left side, I caught a glimpse of her hand from the corner of my eye. Right hand clenched into a fist, thumb pressing something close to the side of the body. Her pace was very slow. The moment she passed by my seat, her hand reached toward the direction of my desk drawer. Just that one time, quick as a snake's tongue. Then she quickened her pace and walked away. I heard a soft click. Something had been slipped into the hidden compartment of my desk drawer lid. My heart started racing, but my hand didn't stop, continuing to write the long answer questions. Steady. 1, 2, 3. Teacher. A clear male voice rang out. Lu Zhixing. All the examinees in the exam hall looked up. The invigilator frowned. What's wrong? Lu Zhixing stood up, his expression calm, his tone unhurried. Teacher. Just now a student passed by the 3rd row and seemed to put something into the desk. He didn't name anyone, but the direction of his gaze was Clermy's seat. The entire exam room turned to look at me in an instant. The invigilator walked over quickly. Excuse me, classmate. Let me check your desk. I put down my pen and nodded. Please go ahead. Teacher. I wasn't flustered. No explanation. Because I don't need to explain. The invigilator lifted the desk lid. Inside lay a white feature phone. The screen is off. The exact same model as in the previous life. The exam hall instantly erupted into chaos, with buzzing discussions rising and falling. A phone. Oh my god. Bringing a phone to the college entrance exam. No way. Jiang Tang. The invigilator's face darkened as he turned to look at me. I lifted my head and met his gaze calmly. Sir. I asked you to check my desk drawer before the exam. The invigilator's expression changed. He remembered. Just now. I specifically asked him to check the desk drawer, it was empty. Now. A phone has suddenly appeared. And some students saw someone stuffing something into it as they passed by. Who was that student who just went to the restroom? The proctor's gaze swept toward the back. Lin Yu had just returned from the restroom and stood at the entrance of the exam hall. Her face pale. She clearly hadn't expected this turn of events. Originally, Su Yao was supposed to report her 10 minutes later. Now it's exposed ahead of time. Lin Yu, please come over here. Lin Yu's lips were trembling. Every step she took felt like walking on cotton. Did you put this phone here? I didn't. A classmate saw you putting something into the desk when you passed by the third row. No, I just. She stammered. Then, she did what everyone in her past life had hoped she would do. But she never did. She looked at Su Yao. Desperately, instinctively, like a drowning person grasping at a lifeline. She looked at Su Yao. The entire examination room followed her gaze. Su Yao sat in her seat, the color draining from her face bit by bit, like an ebbing tide. In that instant, I saw her expression clearly. Terror, panic, exactly the same as when I stood on the riverbank in my past life, watching myself being pulled out of the water. But this time, the one in the water wasn't me. Chapter 7. The examination hall was so quiet it felt like someone had pressed the pause button. 28 pairs of eyes darted back and forth between me, Lin Yu, and Su Yao. The flames of gossip crackling and popping with intensity. The proctor picked up that white feature phone, flipping it over. No lock screen password. No screen lock. Not even a phone case. A completely clean prop phone. This phone does not belong to classmate Jiang Tang. The invigilator said, pushing up his glasses, his tone already turning sour. Classmate Lin Yu, you'd better confess honestly. Lin Yu's face had gone from deathly pale to ashen gray. She opened her mouth, then closed it, then opened it again. Like a fish thrown onto the shore. Then she broke down. It wasn't my idea. That shout pierced through the entire exam hall. A boy in the back row was so startled that he dropped his pen. It wasn't my idea. Su Yao made me do it. She said to just slip the phone into Jiang Tang's desk drawer and let her report it. She said the surveillance cameras were all broken and couldn't be traced. She spoke while backing away, stumbling, tears streaming down her face. Everyone in the exam hall turned to look at Su Yao. Su Yao's face. The most stunning face I have ever seen in my life. First, it turned white. Then, it turned red. Then, it alternated between white and red, and finally turned green. She suddenly stood up, her voice as sharp as nails scraping a blackboard. Lin Yu, what nonsense are you talking about? When did I ever let you win? You did. You sent it to me on WeChat last night. You said Jiang Tang has always been one step ahead of you in grades. You said as long as something happens to her during the college entrance exam, you'll be the top of the grade. You promised to treat me to Heideleo if it worked out. Heideleo. All for a meal at Heideleo. It was worth it. It was truly worth it. I sat in my seat, one hand propping up my chin, watching this grand drama unfold. There was no need for me to speak. There is no need for me to defend myself. There is no need for me to cry out. In this life, the whole world has spoken for me. The invigilator's face turned ashen, and he slammed the table. You too, come out with me. He turned his head and said something to the other female invigilator, who quickly took over the monitoring. And then he led Lin Yu and Su Yao toward the door. As Su Yao passed by my seat, she paused for a moment. She looked down at me. I looked up at her. Our eyes met. Her eyes were filled with a wild hatred, and her lips trembled violently. I gave a faint smile. A very light, Very subtle smile. The kind where the corners of the lips barely lift. Then I lowered my head and continued solving the problems. The third major problem. Solid geometry. Find the cross-sectional area. I wrote it with effortless fluency. Behind her came the sound of Su Yao being dragged away by the invigilator. The footsteps growing fainter until they were finally swallowed by the wind swirling through the corridor. The exam hall fell silent for 2 seconds. Then. Holy shit. Someone in the back row couldn't hold it in anymore. So it was Su Yao who was messing with Jiang Tang all along. That phone was obviously planted. Right. It didn't even have a password set. Wow. Jiang Tang's dress today had no pockets. Did she know about it in advance? She even asked the teacher to check the desk drawer before the exam. That's too brilliant. Whispers of discussion surged from all directions. The female invigilator walked over and gently tapped the desk. Everyone. Quiet down and continue the exam. There's still over an hour left. I didn't look back. I kept working on the questions. But I noticed that my vision was a little blurry. It wasn't tears of sadness. It was all the grievances, anger, and despair accumulated from a past life, rushing to my eyes all at once in this moment. They weren't tears of sorrow. It was the kind of vengeance finally achieved, a sourness in the throat, a swelling in the nose. The feeling of smiling while your eyes grow wet. I wiped the corner of my eye with the back of my hand. I continued working on the problems. The fourth big question was about derivatives. In my past life, I couldn't solve this problem. In this life, I'm determined to earn every single point. When I handed in the exam paper, I put down my pen. My palms were covered in sweat. Not nervous. It's exhilarating. It's fucking exhilarating. Chapter 8. As I walked out of the exam hall, the sunlight made my white dress almost glow. I stood on the steps and took a deep breath. The June breeze carried the sound of cicadas and the dampness of the sprinklers watering the lawn on the distant field. It smelled wonderful. At this moment in my past life, I was taken to the academic affairs office, where 3 teachers and my mother sat across from me. My mother's eyes were swollen, her lips chapped, and she kept repeating, "My daughter wouldn't cheat." No one believed her. Jiang Tang. Zhou Xiaoyu burst out of the exam hall like a cannonball and threw her arms around me. "You're absolutely insane. I watched your whole move just now. When you had the teacher check the desk drawer before the exam, I already knew you had a plan. And sure enough. Can you keep your voice down? No way. I want the whole world to know what kind of person Su Yao really is." Her loud voice attracted a crowd of onlookers. Students who came out of the exam hall gathered in small groups, their murmurs escalating into an uproar. Was Su Yao taken away? I heard Lin Yu confessed everything. And the WeChat chat records are all there. It's over, isn't it? Cheating on the college entrance exam means your scores will be directly cancelled. It's not cheating. It's framing. Even more disgusting. I used to think Su Yao was a nice person. Nice. She's anything but. Last time, Jiang Tang's physics notes went missing. And it was her doing, didn't you know? Ah. The news spread faster than the speed of light. In less than 10 minutes. Everyone in the neighboring exam room knew about it. Another 10 minutes later, the class group chat exploded. I opened my phone. Hundreds of messages were flying up in the class group chat. Su Yao really framed Jiang Tang in the college entrance exam room. Damn. Good thing it was discovered. Otherwise Jiang Tang's grades would have been ruined. That Lin Yu is also an idiot. Letting herself be used like that. Apologized to Jiang Tang. I used to think she was quiet because she was antisocial. But she just couldn't be bothered with you all. Who said Jiang Tang was antisocial before? Not me. Not me. Lu Zhixing is a hero. If he hadn't reported it, it would never have been discovered. Lu Zhixing. The top student from the class next door. Why did he help Jiang Tang? This. This too. This 3. Something's happening. I quickly turned off WeChat. No, I won't turn it off. If I keep reading, these people will directly plan the wedding for me and Lu Zhixing. Take a deep breath. Among the crowd at the exam hall entrance, I saw Lu Zhixing. He stood under the plane tree, holding a bottle of mineral water, twisting the cap. Seeing me looking at him, his hand paused for a moment. Then he handed the bottle over. Thirsty, aren't you? How did you know? You licked your lips 3 times while writing the questions. I took the water, unscrewed the cap, and took a sip. He counted all 3 times. Thank you, I said. You're welcome. He turned his head away. That story you wrote in your Chinese composition. Were you bullied before? My hand holding the bottle of water paused for a moment. He smiled. No, I just made it up. He was silent for a few seconds, then said in a low voice, if anyone ever bullies you in the future, let me know. I turned my head to look at him. The setting sun gilded his profile with a warm glow. And the tips of his ears turned red again. I suddenly felt this lifetime's June had become so much more beautiful. Chapter 9. What happened next was even more explosive than I had imagined. After Su Yao was taken away, the school launched an investigation. The Academic Affairs Office retrieved the exam room surveillance footage. Yes, the very cameras Su Yao had confidently claimed were all broken. Every single one of them was working perfectly. High-definition quality, all around. No blind spots. The footage clearly captured. When Lin Yu passed by my seat, she took a phone out of her school uniform pocket with her right hand and slipped it into the flip-cover compartment of my desk drawer. The entire process took less than 2 seconds. But the surveillance footage is 24 frames per second. 2 seconds equal 48 frames. Every me is clear. Every frame is fatal. The expression on the Academic Affairs Office teacher's face while watching the video was no less dramatic than Su Yao being caught red-handed. The Academic Affairs Director slammed the table on the spot. You call this surveillance broken? I had someone install brand new equipment just last year. The school later retrieved the WeChat chat records between Lin Yu and Su Yao. It was all there in black and white. Su Yao, when you walk past her desk on your way in, just slip the phone into it. Don't worry. The surveillance in exam room 3 has been broken since last semester's storm. I checked with the security guard. After it's done, I'll treat you to Haidaleo hot pot. And I'll even cover the soup base. Lin Yu, really? What if we get caught? Su Yao, impossible. Jiang Tang is a quiet one. She can't do anything except solve problems. And even if they find out the phone isn't hers, so what? It was found in her desk. So it's hers. Who would believe her? Last time she lost her physics notes. Didn't no one help her look for them? People like her. No one cares. People like her. No one cares. This sentence was screenshotted and sent to the class group chat. The group chat instantly exploded. No one cares. Su Yao. Doesn't your conscience hurt when you say things like that? Jiang Tang ranks first in every exam. What did she ever do to you? Humph. No one cares. Then why didn't you say that when she tutored you in math for a whole semester? Su Yao. You don't deserve to be the class beauty. You don't even deserve to be a person. Message after message. All of them were speaking up for me. I sat on the sofa at home, holding my phone, watching the messages flooding the screen, and my eyes grew sore again. In the previous life, the messages in this group went like this. Jiang Tang cheated. No way. Right. The surveillance footage caught it. Ah. You can know a person's face but not their heart. So disappointed. No one spoke up for me, except for Lu Zhixing, who posted that sentence. Jiang Tang is not that kind of person. Then drowned in a sea of doubt and sarcasm. This whole life has changed. All because of a dress without pockets, a transparent document folder, and a small gesture of checking the desk drawer in advance. Sometimes the distance between a person and fate is just a pocket away. My mom came out of the kitchen carrying a bowl of mung bean soup. Drink up. You still have 2 exams tomorrow. Don't just stare at your phone. She didn't know what happened. I didn't tell her. In my past life, I didn't say much to her either. Until I was reported and my results were cancelled, only then did she find out. But in this life, she doesn't need to know. Because this matter has already ended in another way. Mom. What? The mung bean soup you made is really delicious. Come on. Has your mom ever made anything that didn't taste good? I smiled. My nose tingled. It was that feeling of it's good to be alive. Chapter 10. The next morning, the comprehensive liberal arts or science exam was held, followed by the English exam in the afternoon. Su Yao did not show up at the exam venue. Lin Yu was also absent. I heard that the two of them were publicly criticized by the school, had their college entrance exam scores for that year cancelled, and were reported to the Education Bureau. Banned from retaking the exam for 3 years. 3 years. That should be enough time for them to reflect. Wearing that white dress, I calmly finished the last 2 exams. As I walked out of the exam hall, Zhou Xiaoyu bounced up from behind and wrapped her arm around my neck. Jiang Tang. What did you write for the last English essay? I wrote a letter. To whom? To my future self. Wow. So artistic. I wrote it for my mom. To tell her to stop nagging me about getting married. You're 17. Who's nagging you about getting married? My mom says to start looking early. The good ones are already taken. I looked at her speechlessly. That way of thinking. Truly Zhou Xiaoyu. After finishing the last exam, English, the whole world brightened up. Sunlight spilled onto the concrete floor at the exam hall entrance, reflecting a blinding white light. The crowd poured out of the school gates. A mix of cheers, screams, and the sounds of embraces filling the air. Some people were throwing pens. Some were taking photos. Some were crying while hugging their best friends. I stood outside the crowd and took a deep breath. It's over. It's truly over. The nightmare of my past life completely evaporated in the June sunlight of this life. The phone vibrated once. A message from Lu Zhixing on WeChat. Finished the exam. Yeah. Did it come out? At the school gate. As soon as I sent the message, I saw someone walk out from behind the plane tree. White t-shirt. Long legs. Holding a plastic bag in hand. You. Why are you here too? Waiting for you. He handed me the plastic bag. I opened it and looked inside. An iced milk tea. Condensation beaded on the cup's surface. And a crooked smiley face was drawn on the lid. Did you draw that? The barista did. He paused. I asked her to. I put the straw in and took a sip. Ice cold and sweet. The June breeze. A white hemline. The boy's ears turned red again. I suddenly wanted to say something, but I said nothing. I just stood there, side by side with him, watching the direction where the crowd was dispersing. The sunlight is beautiful. The milk tea is very sweet. It's good to be alive. Chapter 11. On the day the college entrance exam results came out, Zhou Xiaoyu called me 37 times. I didn't answer a single one, because my mom was wailing even louder than her right beside me. 708 points. 708 points. Top of the city. Jiang Tang. Wait, I'm calling your grandma. I sat on the sofa, staring at the scores on the screen, frozen for a long time. In my past life, my college entrance exam score was 0, because I was found guilty of cheating in the math exam. All my subject scores were invalidated. My mother went to countless departments demanding a re-evaluation, but all were rejected. Half of her hair turned white that year. This lifetime. 708 points. Top in the city. Ranked 3rd in the province. I turned off my phone and closed my eyes. The sound of the river from my past life seemed to have finally faded from my ears. The class group CH. Had completely gone wild. Holy crap. Holy crap. Holy crap. First in the entire city. Jiang Tang is amazing. Anyone still saying her grades were copied? Anyone else? Su Yao. That idiot. If she hadn't caused trouble, the top of the grade this year would still be Jiang Tang's. Too bad Su Yao can't even take the exam anymore. Ha 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 ha. By the way, what happened to Su Yao in the end? I heard her mother came to the school to make a scene, but was then escorted out by the security guards. What's there to make a scene about? Your daughter was the one who wronged others first, making a fuss over nothing. What was Lu Zhixing's score? 34. 702. 34. Wow. The top two in the grade are together. What do you mean by together? Explain clearly. They're already together. I saw them at the milk tea shop yesterday. 34. 34. 34. 234. Jiang Tang and Lu Zhixing. You two must come out and explain. I muted the group chat notifications. Then I opened Lu Zhixing's chat window. He had just sent a message. Congratulations. I typed. You too. 702 is impressive. It took him a few seconds to reply. 6 points behind you. It's okay. There will be plenty of chances to catch up. Are you talking about the college entrance exam scores? What else would I be talking about? He was silent for another moment. Then he sent a message. I don't want to just chase grades. I stared at the screen for 5 seconds. My heart is beating a little fast. The cicadas outside the window are chirping deafeningly. My mom is on the balcony talking to my grandma on her phone. Her voice so loud that the whole building knows her daughter came first in the city. I stared at Lu Zhixing's message. Typed for a long time. Then deleted it. Finally. He only replied with a meme. A Shiba Inu smiling at the camera. He replied instantly. Also a meme. A Shiba Inu's ears turned red. I placed my phone face down on the table. Lying on the sofa cushion. Laughed out loud. Chapter 12. End of August. On the day the university admission letter arrived. My mom stuffed an entire drawer full of red envelopes. Tsinghua University. Department of Computer Science. The acceptance letter was printed with the name Jiang Tang. I flipped the letter over in the sunlight. The golden embossing shimmering brightly. In my past life. I never got to wait for the acceptance letter. One evening in mid-July of that year, I walked to the riverbank. The water was very calm, reflecting the light of the street lamps. I stood there for a long time. Then I jumped in. When they pulled me out of the water, it was said that a passerby called 120. I lay in the ICU for half a month. I survived. But my dream of college was shattered. My reputation was ruined. And my mother was pointed at and called out. Your daughter is a cheater. In the end, my mother took me and moved away. To a different city. I never took the college entrance exam again. As for what happened later, I don't want to mention it. That life was a complete mess. And this life. I stood by the window, holding Tsinghua's admission letter in my hand. The warm August breeze drifted in. And on the balcony, the cherry tomatoes my mom had planted were bearing bright red fruit. My phone rang. A message from Lu Zhixing on WeChat. Did you receive the admission letter? Yeah. Tsinghua. Computer Science. And you? He sent a photo. An acceptance letter from Peking University. Physics Department. See you in Beijing. I typed. He replied quickly. Then 3 seconds later. Another message came. I'll treat you to milk tea then. You haven't paid me back for the last cup yet. That one doesn't count as repayment. What does that count as? He typed for quite a while. Those 3 bouncing dots flickered for a long time. Finally, a message came through. Consider it my treat. I stared at my phone. A grin stretching from ear to ear. Then my mom's loud voice pierced through the kitchen wall. Jiang Tang, what are you laughing at? Come eat. If you're not eating, stop laughing. Coming. I carefully placed the acceptance letter back into the envelope and set it on the table. Then I ran off to eat. On the table were pork rib soup and broccoli. Just like on the day of last year's college entrance exam. My mom sat across from me, looking at me. And suddenly said out of the blue, making you wear that dress back then was the best decision you ever made. My chopsticks, holding a piece of spare rib, paused for a moment. How did you know? It's all over your class's parent group. Do you think your mom is blind? She picked up a piece of spare rib and put it in my bowl. But there's one thing I can't figure out. What? How did you know you had to wear a dress without pockets that day? I chewed on a rib and answered vaguely. Intuition. She gave me a skeptical look. Then he muttered. That intuition is way too accurate. Your daughter's intuition has always been accurate. Then use your intuition to guess what we'll have for lunch tomorrow. Braised pork. You finish your intuition. And then I do the work. Mom. You're the best. Cut it out. Eat your food. I lowered my head and ate. Outside the window, the August sunset glowed red like a blazing fire, burning from the horizon all the way to the rooftops. The steam from the pork rib soup fogged up my glasses. I didn't wipe them. I just let them stay fogged. Because everything I've seen in this life is good. It's all worth it. My phone vibrated again. I didn't look. Because I said who it was. And I also guessed what he was saying. It was nothing more than, Jiang Tang, can I come to your place for dinner tomorrow? I heard your mom's cooking is really good. Such words. All right. Let me take a look. I sneakily pulled out my phone. It was indeed Lu Zhixing. But the content was not quite what I had guessed. He sent a line. Jiang Tang. All the summers from now on will be wonderful. I read it 3 times. Then replied with a single word. Amichum. Sunlight streamed in through the window. The patches of light on the hem of the skirt like scattered gold. All summers will be just fine. Every summer of this life.